Hi, I'm Caroline Poland, the founder and CEO of Poland and Associates Consulting, and today I'm going to invite you to grab a cup of coffee and join me for a conversation about mental health and the holidays during this COVID-19 pandemic. And certainly holidays are a time of a lot of emotions across the board, and we know that mental health can really suffer during the holiday season. And now we are in new times with this COVID-19 pandemic. And so I wanted to specifically address some of the shifting emotions and the unique situations that we find ourselves in during this pandemic. So in this video, you're going to hear 5 different strategies for you to use this season as you navigate the holidays with this COVID-19 pandemic. And a bonus strategy is coffee. And obviously that is not a primary strategy, but I love starting my morning with a cup of coffee and a holiday flavor in it, and it just brings warmth and cheer to my day. My first strategy is to embrace the both and of this season. There are a lot of things that feel in conflict with one another this season. And as humans, we're tempted to go into the all or the nothing, the either or of things. And the reality is that in life, things are very rarely either or, and instead they're often a both and, a nice shade of gray. But we don't like holding the both and because that feels a little bit more complicated and a little bit more clunky. So what does this look like in practicality during this season? Well, one of the ways that this can look is that I can make hard decisions about what I'm saying yes and no to and how I'm trying to physically distance from other people. And I can have hard emotions about that. I can feel sad. I can grieve what I'm losing during this season, while also, on the other hand, holding the fact that I'm choosing these things for a specific reason, and this is what it looks like to love myself and the community and the medical field well during this season. And so I can hold my grief and the fact that I know that I'm making the right decision at the same time. So my second strategy is to know your why. When we as humans have a why, that allows us to navigate things in a much wiser and regulated way. So if my why this season is to, again, choose to physically distance and follow CDC guidelines because it allows me to love my family well and ensure that we have maybe decades of holidays still together, then that's going to motivate me to do the hard thing now so that I can have the thing that I ultimately want for years to come. So when we have a why, when we have an explanation, we're able to engage that prefrontal cortex in our wise decision making, and that allows us to regulate and choose the things that align with our values. So what is your why and what are your values as you move into this holiday season? And when you're able to spend some time and really evaluate what those things are, you're able to decision make in a way that allows you to meet your ultimate why, your ultimate purpose, and your actual values in a much stronger way than just choosing what feels good in the present here and now moment. So we want to be really intentional about thinking through what our why is and what our values are so that we can make wise decisions moving forward as we decision make through this season. When we have a why, we can survive some pretty painful and difficult hows because it allows us to take that long-term perspective. It allows us to remember that this present moment isn't all there is and that there's a long arc to our lives and to the decisions that we make. And so if you have your why, if you have your values, you can survive a lot more of the difficult and hard in the moment feelings and realities that we're experiencing because we understand that there's a much bigger picture than just the present moment that we're living in today. My next strategy is to utilize the social engagement system that we all have. Isolation is a fuel for depression, and just because we're physically distancing in this holiday season is likely to look very different than former holiday seasons for you, doesn't mean that we have to disconnect from our social relationships and the connections that we have. We just need to be very creative about it. And so At the start of the season, now make a plan for yourself so that you're regularly connecting with a world that's bigger than your little world and the couple people that are maybe within your pod or in your household. And this can be done, of course, over Zoom on different platforms that you can utilize to hang out together. As an example, on Thanksgiving morning, my entire family got on Zoom and we all had coffee together, and we just enjoyed a little bit of time before the day got started. The day before Thanksgiving, my mom and I spent about 2.5 hours on the phone together as we just baked pies and other things that we would typically do together as we prepare for a holiday. And so again, this kind of connects in with a both and. We can make those hard decisions, and that doesn't mean that we have to be totally cut off from the people around us. We just might need to get a little bit more creative about it. So think about ways that you can be creative and in connecting to your family or your community in ways that you otherwise would, that are just going to look a little bit different this holiday season. But we really want to make sure that we aren't isolating just because we're physically distancing from people. We need relationship. We are built for it. We are built to connect to other people. So one way that we really need to utilize to stay healthy this season is to utilize that social engagement system that we all have and connect into relationship. We just need to be creative about it. You can find me on Facebook and Instagram at Poland and Associates, and my website, polandandassociates.com. And if you head to my website, you will find a form that you can fill out so that we can begin working together.